Thank you for joining us tonight. We're super excited. Denise and Stuart. Actually, Denise and Stuart were just on Irwin's podcast. I got the new podcast alert from Irwin. I saw their smiling faces on there. It's like,
they're just
awesome,
professional presenters at various events.
Yeah, they're everywhere these days. Anyway, we're thrilled to have them, and they'll be our guest speakers later on tonight. Next slide, please. Cool.
Why does it have that?
I have no idea why we have a red circle there, but anyway, this
maybe
is
Shelby's trying to keep us on track. Going, look, guys, 7 p.m. You're supposed to start the presentation. I don't know why it has.
I was going to say we've got some really interesting stuff around the Volition portion tonight. One of them, we'll be talking about some of the changes that Toronto's making to multifamily and some action you can take as an investor to help move things along. And Chris will be presenting tonight, one of our agents, talking about listing strategies that he's used to help maximize your dollar value when you're going to sell a property. It's great learning for anybody going through this process. So let's keep going then. Next slide, please. So who are we? Basically, we are here to help you navigate the complex world of real estate. Whether this be questions about topping up your house, buying a home where you can build a laneway, putting in a legal secondary suite, building out a fourplex. These are things that we know how to do. We're there to help you, and we want to be the team that has your back. I mentioned we do a lot of research. We look at neighborhoods, we look at gentrification models, and then we take that research and we actually turn it into investing solutions. That's kind of the big bridge, because research is great, but you need actually a business case on how to apply that research. And that's what we do here at Volition.
And we do it in Toronto. So yes, there's a big myth. And that myth is, oh, there's no good places to invest in Toronto. Toronto's too expensive. Toronto's in a bubble, what have you, right? The reality is much, much different. And we hope to shed some light on that for you. That's not the crux of today's talk. Ming probably is going to get into his market minute and what have you. But definitely in other meetups, we've gone much, much deeper into actually how do you invest in Toronto. So if you're interested, go check out some of those previous meetups. I think maybe Shelby can help us drop that link in the chat, and you can go check it out.
Cool. Next slide, please. So more about us. Basically, we're investors ourselves. We've been doing it for many years. We've got a bunch of investment properties. Recently, we've been getting exposure on HGTV. I think we got another article coming up, Matt, maybe?
Was it already published? I don't know.
Anyway, we have a bunch of exposure on their website now. That's been a great partnership. Yeah, so this is up here not to impress you, but to impress upon you, at least that we're coming from a place of knowledge and experience. So hopefully that helps. Next slide.
We won a bunch of awards. One award we were only nominated for, though. But Denise and Stuart actually won that award. So anyway, not a sore loser at all, as you can see.
So like, if you're interested in working with us, what do we actually do? I get this question a lot, unfortunately. So I want to spend a little bit of time here. The first thing is advisory. So we help people on both a one-on-one basis as well as a one-on-many, like tonight, learn about real estate and then personalize a plan to help them invest in real estate. The second thing we do, this is where we make our money, is realty. So we are real estate team. We specialize in finding properties to execute against your investment goals and your personal residence goals. That second part, what I'm talking about, you don't need us if you're trying to find a place with like nice tile or good countertops like that. Anybody can do that. But if you're trying to buy a place where you're like, okay, in the future, I'd like to have a laneway suite Or in the future, I want to perhaps rent out my basement to help me with my mortgage payment. Or I want to take out a couple of walls, and I want to know if that's structurally possible on this property. That's where we come into play, because our knowledge of investing in real estate can be very helpful on a personal residence. So anyway, that's what we do. That's the realty portion. The next side is renovation. So oftentimes, once you have this plan, let's say it's a triplex in the laneway suite, you need to now be able to execute on that. And we have a whole team that takes care of that execution. And lastly, we have strategic partnerships on leasing and property management to help get your properties up and running.
Yeah, for sure. And just to circle back to the realty component. So, obviously we have a specialization in investment realty, but a lot of clients approach us for their personal stuff too. And so what's funny is actually recently a big commercial realtor approached us to help them on his personal residence search. First of all, he recognized that he didn't have the expertise on the personal side, but he was very well connected and he could have gone anywhere. So he came to us and we showed him what our chops, what we do, how we have a process in our back end that's not reflected here, where we search, filter, and assess properties, and basically we underwrite. We've got an entire team dedicated just assessing deals and underwriting deals to make sure they work. And one of his goals was he wanted to find something in his personal residence that he could add value to. And we showed him our process. And he was like, wow, you guys have an underwriting process. Like, he understands this because he's a commercial realtor. And so he was impressed. He was blown away at the fact that, us, so on the residential side, are like essentially underwriting deals in order to assess the viability of them. His whole thing was, I wanted to buy something and add, value so I can make, a lift of 300,000 or 500,000 or something like that. We're like, yeah, that's what we do. We do that all day long. We do that for investment properties. The process is actually no different on the personal side. So anyway, thought that might have been an interesting anecdote for you guys.
Next slide, please.
All right, so we got some big news here. So it's with mixed emotions that we announced some big changes at Volition. So Sam, partner and head of realty at Volition, is stepping down from Volition for personal reasons. So Sam has decided to take this time to focus on what is really important in life, and those things are family and its health and its relationships and its well-being and more time for himself and the family. Like, really, it's why we all get into real estate investing in the first place. So fortunately, Sam's real estate investing over the past decade and a half has created this incredible opportunity in his life. So co-creating, defining, and diving headfirst into real estate investing as per the Volition business model has actually created the wealth and the cash flow streams for Sam and Anita that most of us only dream about. So that's Sam on the left side, and that's Anita on the right side, and they're holding hands there in Belize. But anyway, effective immediately, Sam will not be taking on any more clients, new or old, Volition clients. So for those of you who are working with Sam, or if you've worked with Sam in the past, a Volition team member will have already or will be reaching out to you to ensure that you have a continued point of contact with the Volition team and to ensure that you have a smooth transition. So while we send off Sam with well wishes from the Volition team and on behalf of the Volition community of 3,300 meetup investors, Sam won't completely disappear to Belize. Not yet anyway. Sam is irreplaceable, and so his expertise and his know-how in getting deals done is actually second to none. So as such, Sam will remain on with Volition as a special advisor to the Volition realty and construction teams. So this mutual parting has been a well thought through plan that was put in motion quite some time ago, and it's been a transition over time. So anyway, while Sam has been with Volition nearly since its inception, Ming has been stepping up, as you know, into a leadership role within the Volition organization, and he's now ready to fill Sam's big shoes and then some. So in the coming months, we will be defining, finalizing, and formalizing Ming's role as a senior leader within the Volition organization. So most of you already know Ming as half of the Asian Property Brothers anyway, and as he's been a prominent speaker and educator within the Volition community for many years now. So anyway, thanks everyone, and thank you, Sam, for helping grow the Volition family, as well as this amazing network of investors we have here, and having helped many of them in their journey of building wealth through real estate. So, you're a shining example of what can be achieved through hard work, sophisticated investing, and perseverance. And as a side note, it's been said on many occasions that Ming actually wants to be Sam when he grows up, despite the fact that that Ming is actually 2 years older than Sam. But
I always tell Sam, I'm going to be you when I grow up one day.
Yeah, he wants to be Sam. We all do. So anyway,
somebody was asking. I was talking to one of our clients, and they're like, "Oh, so when is it time for you and Matt to retire?" And I said, "Oh, we've got expensive wives and kids, so that's not happening anytime soon."
So I guess this is not going to be me and you holding hands on the beach anytime soon, huh?
We can still hold hands, buddy.
Okay, good to know. But anyway, it is with mixed emotions that we do this, send them off with this farewell, but bigger and better things await Sam and Anita. So thanks so much, and thanks for all your contributions. That said, we're hiring. Still hiring. So
we're very fortunate right now. We have a lot of clients. I don't want to say more than we can handle, but we're getting really close. So we really need help. If anybody is a realtor or looking to become a realtor, we totally recognize that what we do is quite specialized, quite high level of knowledge, but we have a pretty comprehensive way of training up folks to get them, to become sophisticated investors, to ramp up their construction knowledge. So if this seems interesting, please reach out to us. We'd love to chat.
Yep. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I think I touched on this already, but yeah.
Is there anything else you want to add then?
Yeah, we're at 7:15.
All right, let's keep on going.
Yeah, and lastly, a lot of companies have like a mission statement. We've got this mission picture. We want to be that eraser. Basically, the home buying process, be it for investment properties, personal residence, can be just a major maze. And we really want to simplify that as best as possible. So, yeah. Oh, lastly, we've got our private Volition Mastermind chat group. So this is for all our active clients who have gone through advisory. If we missed you for whatever reason, please let us know. You should be on this chat. Okay, all right, let's dive into the market. Okay, so sales volume. Sales volume has been surprisingly trending upwards through October. I think if I go back to my October presentation, I was expecting October to slow down a little bit, but it was very competitive, especially if you were one of our active clients. We've been seeing a lot of bidding wars right now. Unfortunately, it's been very tough for our clients to execute as a result. And, for us, as investors, even as homeowners, it doesn't make sense for us to overpay. And there's a bit of emotional buying going on right now from some of the people that we're up against. So I'm not surprised to see sales volume going up. And we're going to dive into this number in a little more detail in the Volition data. Average home resale price, again, up across the board. We break this down into a little bit further detail. A lot of this is being driven by massive recoveries in the single-family home sector, but it's up, and November I expect to be continuing to trend up as well. And this is what's doing it. We are in quite a supply crunch. I mean, we're not as bad as I think November this year, for 2021 will still be a little better than it was in 2019, but it was down kind of through October, September. So it's been very tight on the supply side. Neighborhoods like East York, for example, the inventory is extremely tight there. When we do showings, there are days that all 10 hours of available showing time is full. So it is very competitive, especially in certain neighborhoods. Right? Cool. On to our market data. So what we went through was the TREB data. That is interesting. I mean, it gives us the overall view of what's happening within the city. But if you're a Torontonian or if you know about the city, you know that all Toronto is not created equal. Oakwood is going to be different from East York, is going to be different from High Park. So it's very important for us to actually understand what's happening at a neighborhood by neighborhood level. So we take that information, we break it down, and next slide, we'll go into some of this. So within the downtown core, this is what I was talking about. Through the end of 2021, we've really seen a massive ramp up in many of the neighborhoods for the single family pricing. And you'll see here big spikes happening through the beginning of the year, a little leveling off through summer, but there's upward motion again now through the fall market. Neighborhoods like East York, Dovercourt, Wallace, Emerson are seeing quite an increase in price. Next slide. Condos as well. We pretty much have wiped out any of the downturn that happened through the pandemic. There's a lot of talk about this max exodus from the city. And yeah, people did move out, but they have moved back in with their dollars through 2021. And most neighborhoods now are ahead of pre-pandemic pricing. So how does this contrast the rest of the city? Let's take a look. So, if you come to our meetups, you've seen this graph pretty regularly. What we're seeing, and there was a question I got from one of our clients recently. I'm seeing big price increases happening outside the downtown core. Should I start looking there at some investments? My answer to that was the downtown core is a much more stable investment. I liken it to blue chip versus penny stock, right? The areas outside Toronto have always had much larger gains and drops as they've happened, as the economy cycles. And this is a perfect chart to kind of show what's happened, through 2017 when we had those changes in mid-2017 to housing rules, big drop in price, and then it took a long time before we start to see recovery. Versus the downtown core, while there wasn't such a wild swing, it has constantly been improving over time. There was no big dip through 2017. I mean, there was a bit of a dip, but it got wiped out very quickly, and property values started to continue to rise. So it's a very different shape graph between the two. Anyway, next slide. So I was mentioning that City of Toronto has been talking about expanding housing options, and what does that mean really? You often hear the term the missing middle, and our current head of urban planning is really taken, I think, a drastic stab at trying to make changes here. And I'm really happy to see that, because right now, Toronto's a very low density city. We have a lot of low density neighborhoods. So we'll drop a link in the chat if Shelby hasn't done that already. There's a survey being conducted by the City of Toronto. And if you're an investor here or elsewhere, we encourage you to answer the survey. Some of the elements that they're trying to tackle and we're advocates of is streamlining the development process. If you've tried to put in a secondary suite, do a triplex, build a laneway house, add a story onto your house, any of these things right now, it is a very complicated process, of which only a handful of people in the city really understand how to do it properly. I mean, good for us that we're one of those handful of people that understand how to navigate this, but it shouldn't be that difficult. And it is definitely more of a hindrance than it is for most investors. So we want to see a more streamlined development process. There's also all these, Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, so I was just going to add on that we're seeing this actually at multiple levels. So this is City of Toronto. I think we mentioned at the last meetup, we've been tapped by CMHC to provide insights into what's actually happening. Like they've got a mandate to create 200,000 new secondary housing units, dwelling units, but they don't know what the problem is. So we've given them some insights. We've had a couple of meetings with them. We've given them some insights into where the challenges actually are, and they're asking who's doing this. Is it mom and pops? Is it institutional investors? Is it what's the profile of those people? Who are they? What do they do? How much money do they make? How much money do they have? Where do they get the money from? And so we know all this because our clients are the ones doing this. But they're trying to provide financing solutions for it. And so, we're at the very front lines in trying to help push through better financial policies that can actually make it downstream to the actual investors and provide better financing solutions to investors in general and specifically our investors. So anyway, and they're specifically also looking at this kind of missing middle piece. So anyway, they're just a kind of an add-on to what Ming was talking about.
Yeah, and we really want to support some of these changes, to help our investors, help the investor community, and also create more affordable housing within the city. It is such a complicated and expensive process right now for anybody who wants to add more housing. And the more barriers we have taken away, really, the better it is for everybody. So there is that article, I think, that was dropped in here. It's a good read. It goes through kind of all the high level things that the chief planner is looking to do. But would encourage people to fill out the survey. Handing it over to Chris. He's going to go through some pretty awesome listing stories. So go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ming, and great to just kind of take a bit of a different lens to what our normal case studies are. Generally, we're focusing on the buy side. We're looking at how do we acquire the property, converting it to a triplex, but we're actually going to take it from the opposite side and look from the listing side to see what are some strategies that we implement for our clients, and also as Ming had in the previous slide, investors make the best, or the normal agents also. Anyways, I completely messed that up, but we also do normal things as well. That's the main thing I wanted to convey. So, anyways, can we go to the next slide, please? Okay, perfect. Thank you. So in terms of the 5 steps for listing, I mean, I'm sure a lot of you on the call, like, you seem pretty sophisticated. So, we're just going to go through this in a case study format tonight with the recent selling of an ICE condo property, actually, for one of our clients out in BC.
You okay, Chris? Whoa, we lost Chris. Oh, there he is.
Sorry about that. I don't know. My internet's a little bit wonky today. My apologies. I blame my parents. I'm actually up at my parents' house tonight for family dinner, trying to be a good son and just, anyways.
And this is how they reward
anyways, we did digress a bit. So in terms of the aligning expectations, so one of our major philosophies is really just sitting down with our clients to really better listen to understand what their needs and wants are. So a lot of agents are probably just assuming, okay, the client wants the highest and best price in the building, like record-breaking price, do whatever you can to make that happen. In this case, actually, our client, like, he actually recently went through a large renovation on his own primary residence. So he actually was more looking for less headache, more of a minimal renovations budgets, and really he just didn't want the headache to go through a lot of renovations. So he was just looking for, I want to get reasonable price, minimal headache and minimal construction cost for any renovation. So, we tried our best to listen to our client and make sure that we can meet his needs and expectations. So, yeah, so yeah, we really wanted to just emphasize again, we really wanted to understand, what is his preferences, how does he like to be communicated, what are the timelines, what is his preferred communication style. So again, really just trying to emphasize his needs and understanding those better. Next slide, please. In terms of step 2 pre-listing, we actually have our own in-house contractor, Brian. I don't know if he's on the call tonight, but we actually got Brian to basically do a walkthrough with us to identify some areas that needed to be addressed. So clearly, as you can see on the screen, there's some pre-existing mold on the ceiling that we had to deal with. There was actually one of the comments from our client. He actually felt, okay, you know what? Based on some comparables, I think we need to renovate the floors because the 2 bedrooms were carpeted. So initially we were like, okay, let's get the budget for that. It was actually close to 20,000 pre-tax, and that far exceeded what our client was willing to pay for any renovations. So actually looked at the comps in a bit more detail, hearing what he had to say about reducing renovation costs, just having less headache. So we looked at some comps, and we actually realized that many of the recent comps with the 2 bedroom layouts, they also had carpeted bedrooms as well, and they still achieved extremely positive results. So we actually went back to our client and said, you know what, we don't need to spend 20 grand to upgrade all your flooring. Let's just spend like 5 grand and just steam clean the carpets. Let's just obviously fix up the drywall and remove the mold and repaint the unit. So that's what we really went back to the client with. So we definitely were able to save the client a lot of money, about $10,000 to $15,000, and a lot less time in terms of getting. Next slide, please.
You ready? I changed the slide.
Yeah, so just, yeah, sorry, I think it was just internet lagging. Yeah, so just a few pictures to showcase some of the issues we addressed. So yeah, even the cooktop, that was $2,500 replacement cost, but based on just where it was located of the actual cooking surface, we felt, let's try to just patch it for like $50 versus replacing it for $2,500. And we also felt, given where it was on the cooktop, we felt pretty confident that it wouldn't detract from any prospective buyers from putting an offer. So we just went with the patch. We made sure it looked professional, clean. It matched the existing glass, and yeah, obviously that's an additional savings for a client as well. Instead of spending $2,500, you spend $50 to apply epoxy patch to that cooktop. Next slide, please.
Wow, your internet's slow, dude.
So in terms of obviously, I don't know what's going on. I apologize to everybody, but okay. So in terms of the marketing, we obviously wanted to make sure that the unit, really just got people's attention. So we enlisted our professional interior designer and stager to go through the unit, provide some recommendations based on our client's budget, with appropriate furniture, art, items within the unit. And we arranged all the logistics from booking the elevators, getting concierge to book it for us, just ensuring that on the day of that, there's no issues with the moving truck for the furniture to get it all staged and ready to go. Next slide, please. Just to compare and contrast a little bit of, from pre-renovation and pre-staging. So we do have sort of the den right in front of the second bathroom, the first picture. We do have the second bedroom with the carpet. And then just another shot from the window of the unit pre-renovation and pre-staging. So as you can see, the lighting's not great. The carpet, just some stains on it. You can't really realize the potential and how a client could imagine themselves living in this unit. So flip to the next slide, please. So yeah, here are the staged and professionally photographed pictures of the unit. So again, the first picture, it's the den in front of the bathroom. So obviously with the appropriate lighting, appropriate furniture components, it's going to really showcase, the strengths of this unit. Next slide, please. So just getting into the nitty-gritty of the actual listing and offer night. So we actually ended up discussing with our client going with an offer night strategy. So within a week, we actually listed the unit for a week. So we had 30 plus showings in the 7 days preceding the offer night. We actually ended up getting 2 bully offers, one at 808,000. And based on our comps and what we've already outlined to our clients, that was well below expectations. So we advised our client, you know what, let's just continue to wait for offer night. So we just kindly asked that agent to come back. We also did get another bully offer actually a couple days before offer night at 850,000, a conditional offer. Given just how close we were to offer night, we said, you know what, let's continue to wait. So we just asked the agent to come back in a couple nights. So on offer night, we actually received again 2 or 3 offers. One being 838,000, which was a firm offer, and then we actually ended up getting another offer for 860,000, which was a conditional offer. Given just the difference between the firm offer of 838 and the conditional offer of 860, which is a difference of 22,000, we felt, given the large delta, we obviously advise our client that, obviously it is a risk because it's a 3-day financing condition, and they could not get financing and it could just, the offer will just die. But given the delta, we felt, it was worth the risk. And that's what we actually advise our clients with. And also given this person who was offering 860, they were end user. We also felt that, given their end user, they're going to be more likely to be, trying a bit harder to get financing. So we felt it was a calculated risk. So at the end of the day, our client actually went with the conditional offer of 860. And fortunately for us, we were actually able to get that firmed up after the 3-day financing condition. So next slide, please. So at the end of the day, we were able to achieve $860,000 for our clients. Again, we minimized renovation costs from possible amount of 25,000 to about 5,000 in total. We got the listing listed within his timelines, and we were also able to achieve a record price per square foot within the last 2 months of the sale in September and October. So again, just wanted to highlight for this client, again, it's not, obviously we were still able to get an amazing price for our client, but it wasn't really his priority. Like, he really wanted to just make sure, minimize the renovation costs, get the right closing date to him, and just make sure that he can get it listed within a very short amount of time. So.
Oh, we lost Chris again.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's keep going.
Right. Okay, but yep, that basically was the end. So I just wanted to say, feel free to reach out to us for listing as well. We do normal stuff. I think Shelby's going to drop in.
I think we can barely hear you, Chris. Okay, maybe I'll help Chris finish off. So thanks, Chris. So anyway, this whole listing, we want to take you through the journey of what it's like being on the other side. Because again, as investors, you're usually buyers. Investors don't usually sell unless there's a good reason to. There was a good reason to. So this investor wanted to sell, and we helped him through that. And using that investor lens was the key here. So, we looked at this and we go, okay, what do we absolutely need to do using our investor mindset? What renovations, what repairs do we need to do? Okay, let's make sure that we fix those things. Let's make sure that we strategically stage, and we're giving guidance to the stager on how to not hide certain things, but just draw attention away for certain things. So there's a lot to it. It's very much an art, and given our investor mindset, given our investor experience, it led us to things like, hey, let's take that calculated risk to get the higher dollar value, even though it's a conditional offer. Who takes a conditional offer on offer night when you've got a firm one? That very rarely happens. But we assessed the risk, we looked at it from all angles, and it still led to the best outcomes for clients. But anyway, thank you, Chris. And we are over time. So I am going to, okay, so interested in listing, reach out. Current listings, we got a few current listings as well. So reach out if you are interested in something in South Riverdale / Riverside, right near East Harbor, by the way. And we've got one at Artworks. Where do you see a 3-bedroom plus den condo available in downtown Toronto? It's one of the few condos that actually makes sense from a Volition perspective for investment. So reach out to Chris if you are interested. And I'll just do this really, really quickly because I literally just got this Bell deal today.
We don't sell Bell.
We don't sell. I'm not a reseller. I'm not making anything. I just want to let you know that I found I was looking for internet for one of my properties. The idea is provide internet to a triplex or a fourplex. You pay for it once, you can reap the reward 4 times back. And so it makes a lot of sense. But I hate Bell. Did I say that out loud? I hate Bell. Bell's pricing, but their fiber internet is rock solid stable. And so if you're looking for a low headache solution, fiber is actually really, really good. But the pricing is astronomical. So I found a Bell small business sales rep who will actually give a deal to you for about $60 or $61 a month on a 3-year contract. This is typically $130. So anyway, I literally just got his contact and I ordered it for myself, for my own home, and all my investment properties today. I just did it. And so ping Shelby if you want the contact details for that Bell sales rep. I'm not trying to sell anything. I just want to let you know that we really got this really good deal and maybe you can benefit too. Okay, let's keep on going.
Cool. So, main event. What we're actually here to listen to. Keep going, Matt. So, I just wanted to welcome Denise and Stuart MacPherson. Their reputation precedes themselves. They are successful real estate investors. They're successful entrepreneurs. They have courses teaching, how to tap into this money that we'll be talking about tonight. They're doing development work. They are very award-winning. They've been on multiple podcasts. So, and I know I'm not doing justice right now going through some of the things that I've mentioned, but we're very excited to have me here to talk to us tonight. So without further ado, let's hand it over to Denise and Stuart.
Well, thank you.
Got to close the poll.
So I see that a poll went out there. It was interesting to see the results of this poll.
Are you guys giving the answers, or are we going to share that? How do you guys want to work that?
Shelby, did you share it?
Yeah, I'm sharing. Can everyone see?
Yeah,
okay.
I just
Yep.
All right.
So what's interesting, I think, and you guys will probably get into this, is it's interesting if you have RRSPs, but it's way more interesting if somebody else has RRSPs.
Absolutely. So
what I'm going to do.
Can I go with you to drop it off? Can I go with you to drop it off? Or we spend time?
Should I mute someone? Who's talking?
Just mute the line, mute the whole bridge, and we can unmute.
Shelby, can you help us?
Yep, done.
All right.
all right.
Okay.
Oh, this is so awesome, actually, for the invite. We thank you so much. It's kind of nice to connect with old friends. That's how I call it, because we started investing in 2010, and that's when we first met Matthew, actually. So that's kind of awesome. We'll have to move that up so we can see our slides, Stuart. There we go. All right. You know,
that's right. We're old friends, but not old. We've been friends for a long time. We're not old.
Well, some people call us old, but the thing is, I still feel like a spring chicken. So there you go.
You have more energy than most 20-year-olds I know. So
yeah, I know. It's kind of funny because I'm in my late 60s now. And yeah, I mean, we're Zoomers. We're just boomers with a lot of zip. That's what we are.
Love it.
And actually, I think that's part of the amazing story is that you guys didn't start real estate investing in your 20s. You guys started.
Goodness. If people think that they're too old to start, oh my gosh, we started at retirement age is when we started. So. Yeah. We'll get into that just a little bit here, but yeah, no worry. We waited till we retired before we started. So, and that was in 2010. And the real estate club that we belong to, Matthew was part of that same club, which is he's one of the first people that we met. We'd go to Toronto for all the meetings.
Just so that you're aware, we live in Ottawa.
Yeah.
So we would drive the 4.5 hours down for the Toronto meetings. 4.5
and a little bit. And we'd drive right back after the meeting, and we did that over 10 years. So,
wow.
Yep.
That's dedication.
Yep, it was great. So this is great because what we're willing to share with you tonight is how to tap into a $1.8 trillion source of funds to do your deals. Now, I'm hoping that most of you here are already real estate investors. So if you're here, you should be. So it's amazing. One of the things you're going to find out as we talk, there's so many people that you spend time with all the time that, you know, that have access to funds to fund your deals, and they may not know it and you don't know it. So we're going to show you how to tap into this source of investment asset to grow your net worth and bring your real estate projects to reality. Now, just as a background, Stuart and I went through a divorce back in the 1990s when, and it's kind of funny because when we first met, we were going through the divorce, but we did not know. We just kind of had met and and that was it.
Now, just for clarity, that's divorce from other people, yes. Not divorce from each other.
That's right. And one of the things that if anybody's gone through a divorce wrecks your finances. It just does. And it was very difficult at the beginning. I mean, I had some months where I had 52 cents to my name and I had to wait till the next payday to be able to continue on. So I know what it's like when people have life-changing events and you've got to deal with it. And that's what you do. You deal with it. And Stuart was recovering also from a marriage when we started seeing each other, which is like maybe a couple of years later when we started seeing each other. But Stuart was recovering from a marriage where his partner believed that living paycheck to paycheck and making minimum debt payments on anything was normal, or racking up the credit cards. You know, if there was room on there, well, that's room to spend. So that's where he came from. So putting our lives together, we recognize that life is going to have to change. There's just got to be a different way to go about things. And one of the things is we realized that we had to rethink what we were doing because we lost a lot in our retirement savings too. And we're looking together at putting a life together because Stuart and I got together, we got married in 2003. And when we put our lives together, it's like, okay, how many RSPs do you have? How many, TFSAs were not there at the time, but it's just like, where do we go from here? We're working government jobs. We're working 60 to 80 hours a week. It's like, what do we do? And we had to sit down hard, and it was difficult. Like I said, we were worried because we wanted a better life for ourselves, and we wanted a retirement that we would feel very comfortable in, to be able to travel and just do the things we wanted to do, right? So just like other baby boomers have done, and have a lot of people have done, we would put our money in RSPs. From the time we started on the workforce, we actually started putting RSPs away. And then we'd invest in the products that, that the banks had, because they're telling us, hey, those are good investments, but really, when you think about it, what's good for the banks is not necessarily good for you. And I'm sure that many of you were taught probably the very, very same thing. So we lost a lot of money in the dot-com bust around the 2000s, and we lost again in the world financial crisis of 2008, 2009, and we just saw stuff just eroding. And we thought, man, what are we going to do? So, and again, I know a lot of people have been through the same situation, and like I said, probably some of you have. So again, having to do something different so we wouldn't have to give up our dreams of a happy retirement. And we actually we learned about a little known strategy. Well, first of all, before I learn about the strategy, is one of the things that we had done, I think a few years before we even retired, we were looking at something else to do. We were in Ottawa. We had gone to a business symposium, and they had all kinds of businesses, going on stage and presenting what they have and all these opportunities. And even to the point of having a gumball machine where you could buy these gumball machines, put them in different locations, and then you go once a week and pick up your money. And people were flocking to go buy these. And I looked at Stuart and said, no, thanks. And there was somebody that came on stage and talked about real estate. And we were actually very interested. And we signed up. The guy was from the States. And the only thing I can say, it's good that they had that sort of 10-day cooling off period, because after 3 days, it says, when are we going to do this? Like, we don't have time. So we canceled it. So move forward a few more years later, and then we're thinking retirement, we need to do something. And then we got into real estate. That's what happened. But one of the things we learned is that we had played in the stock market. That's not my area of expertise. And in playing in the stock market, we lost everything. It just didn't seem like anything was going our way. We lost everything, even to the point, I'll even mention this, that I said, not everything. I have to admit, not everything, because there's one stock that was $10,000. I made $18.34. That means I lost.
That's not profit. That's when we cashed out. That's what we got.
Left of that 10,000. So I didn't lose everything. There was $18.34 left out of all of our stocks. And I thought, okay, no, we got to do something. So when we looked into real estate, the first thing we said is we need to educate ourselves, because when we bought in stocks, there was like a big hype, and it was the high-tech stocks, if those of you know, like Nortel and JDS and all those stocks at the time. So we thought, we're not doing anything until we get educated. So that's what we did. We got educated. And in one of the courses, we overheard somebody say, RSP mortgages. And I thought, what? So again, for us to learn about this little known strategy, it just really changed our whole approach to everything, because I had no idea. Nobody knew who had said it or whatever. And I thought, I've got to learn more about this. Now, we were just starting in real estate. And I educated ourselves in the end of 2009, and retirement was January 29th, 2010. So here I am, I'm investigating about RSP mortgages. And when I left government, at the time, they don't anymore, they gave you a severance pay for how many years you had been with the government. So they had asked me before, do you want an RSP? I said, no way. I had lost so much, because I just said, no way. So I called them back. I said, change my mind. Don't give it to me in cash. Give it to me in RSPs. And I went back to one of our classes, and I kind of stood in a group of, there were 8 investors sitting at a table. I said, I have this many $1,000 for an RSP mortgage. Is anybody interested? And I was blown away, because everybody said, pick me, pick me, pick me. And I thought, wow. So they actually started bidding with an interest rate. And then they got to an interest rate where the conversation was slowing down. I said, sold. Did I know what I was doing at the time? Absolutely not. I did not know. But I learned, and I found a lawyer at the time. It was her very first RSP mortgage she was doing. So we learned together. So again, it did not take long to realize that these were all borrowers around the table. I thought, I'm a lender right now. And I thought, I can be a borrower. And that's what became a game changer for us. And I thought, once I've done one as a lender, I thought, okay, I know the process. I'll reverse the process and start doing that. And that's what we have been doing in our real estate, that it's possible to grow your real estate portfolio using registered funds that you borrow and you pay back with interest. And this is how we're going to tell you tonight is exactly how this works. So before we even share the mechanics of all of this, we're going to just tell you, like, we've been lenders and borrowers. We work both sides of the fence. We have been doing that now for close to 12 years, because in January is going to be 12 years since we've been doing this. And, we just wondered, where are we going to find people that are going to be willing to lend their registered funds? And there's loads and loads of people out there that are getting crappy returns on their retirement savings. They just are. Wouldn't it be nice for somebody to learn that there's another way that they can grow their retirement savings and not get the piddly returns that they're getting today? So that's what we've been doing, is just perfecting that strategy over the years. Now, as we got involved in real estate investing, we know one of the biggest problems that real estate investors has is getting access to enough capital so they can grow their portfolio. There's bank rules, there's mortgage ceilings, there's high broker fees, and they all contribute, to the difficulties in buying your next property. So, while doing a joint venture is always a possibility, but then again, you're sharing that equity because it's a long-term agreement. When you're dealing with private mortgages, you've got a debt partner. That means they get paid a certain interest rate, and that's it. You keep the profits. And there's no banks involved at this point when you borrow registered funds, because it is a private mortgage. Now, isn't that great to have an alternative to real estate? And I know few people have been using this strategy. They sometimes borrow a little bit, and we'll talk a little bit more about some of the stories and things like that. So we just want to introduce to you tonight that different way of being able to fund your deals. And it's a specialized world of just borrowing private funds. More specifically, we're going to talk about registered funds and how you can use this strategy to your advantage by learning how to leverage untapped funds and grow your portfolio.
Now, in private lending, you can use either cash or registered funds. Now, before we go any further, let's explain what we mean by the term registered funds. So registered funds are investment vehicles that allow you to grow your retirement savings, either tax deferred or tax free under Canada Revenue Agency rules. Now, most of us are familiar with RRSPs and tax-free savings accounts, TFSAs, but registered funds also include locked-in retirement accounts, which are called LIRAs, registered education savings plans, RESPs, registered retirement income funds, RIFs.
And then there's the LIFs too, right? The locked-in ones, the locked income funds.
So these are all CRA-approved accounts that can allow your funds to grow either tax-free or tax-deferred under special rules. Now, most people are used to having their funds invested, their RRSPs invested in mutual funds or in GICs or stocks, bonds, or other vehicles sold by banks and financial planners. And our research has shown that there's more than $1.8 trillion in Canadian registered funds that are out there. But the question that we always get asked is, why haven't we heard about this strategy before? Well, the simple answer to that is it's because the banks don't want people to know about investing in mortgages. They don't want people to know because they don't profit from anything other than the goods that they sell. You can help people grow their retirement savings while helping you grow your portfolio. So you can be a superhero in their lives and change their lives, change their retirement. Now, you may have heard about these types of mortgages with registered funds, but you may not know how to do one. Well, we can change that. You can borrow funds from people's RRSPs using mortgages that will solve your problems and your lender's problems. Now, the one thing that I'm going to mention is that tonight we're talking about investing RRSPs, but it covers all of the registered funds that I mentioned just a minute ago.
Too much of a mouthful to list them all. So it's easy to say RSPs, but yes, it does mean all registered funds. Now let's talk about some of the rules around using RRSPs. Not all trustees allow you to have mortgages in your registered funds portfolio. So you'll have to make sure that the lender has his funds with a trustee that allows this. And there's a few across the country that allow to do that. So when people say, oh, can I do it from the bank? No, you can't. Not arm's length mortgages. So there's a number of them. Like I said, across Canada, our preference is actually Olympia Trust. We found them the easiest, the one that offers the most client service compared to some of the other ones. Some of them have closed down, some of them have a lot more red tape, and we just found Olympia Trust really great to work with. And you should also know that as well as the CRA rules, the trustees will have rules as well that you need to work under. So you're going to make sure that you understand the rules about arm's length and non-arm's length, because it depends on the relationship between the borrower and the lender. So when you are non-arm's length, well, guess what? So when you are related by marriage, that is non-arm's length. So I could not borrow Stuart's RSPs or his TFSAs. And the other ones that go under non-arm's length is anybody by like a borrower lender, anybody with blood relation or adoption, or even if you control a corporation, that means you'd be borrowing from yourself, and that's not allowed either. So non-arm's length mortgages are allowed, don't get me wrong, they are allowed, but there's a higher level of requirements for them. You must qualify for the mortgage at a bank or a financial institution that offers that. You must be CMHC insured. There's more fees, more rules. So it's a lot stricter than arm's length transactions. So, and just, you know, when it's an arm's length, like if you were buying your own house and you wanted to use some of your RSPs towards that house, you'd be allowed to do that. Just know that you would have to have market rates. You can't say, you know what, I'll use my own RSPs and I'll pay myself 20% and then I can grow my retirement savings and it's going to help my house. They won't allow you to do that either. So it's got to be at market rates, or rates, not rents, rates. Now, the other way is so much easier and less costly anyway. So arm's length is basically everyone else. Now, there is no one from all the faces that I saw a while ago. I'm not related to any one of you, neither is Stuart. So that makes you arm's length from us. And it's so much easier, like I said, to deal with arm's length. So you need to know that registered funds can only be invested in approved products. But mortgages on Canadian real estate is one of the permitted investments. It is a CRA approved one, and it's right in the legislation. And you're going to notice quite often that Stuart and I talk back about legislation or the law. We've worked for a regulatory body before, and let's just say that it's very important for us to stay within the laws and within the rules, and that's what we do. So the other thing is, one of the other rules that you have is that you're not permitted to do any swapping. I laugh when I get a call, hey, Denise, I'm told that we could swap our RSPs, and I go, no. I said, I don't know where you heard that, because it certainly wouldn't be coming from my mouth, because I have never said that. So you can't swap. This is where you loan your RSP to someone else, and in exchange for them loaning their RSPs to you. You cannot do that. That's against the CRA rules. So it's very, very important to understand the rules, because if you break them, guess what? It can be very expensive penalties, interest costs, going back right back to the time of the loan, even if they find that out years later. So CRA calls this deregistering your registered funds. And that means all the taxes owing, penalties, everything else, right?
And any interest that has been made on those funds in the years since becomes deregistered and becomes immediately taxable.
Yeah. There is no advertising for funds at all. You can't post interest rates unless you are licensed. Remember when we said to stay within the law? There's so many rules again around the security commissions across the country, not just in Ontario, because they each have their own security commissions, and they have rules about how you can borrow money. And the easiest scenario basically is you must have a relationship with the person that you are talking to, like family and friends, or they could be an accredited investor. So an accredited investor is just somebody with a high net worth.
Yep.
Okay.
So there's a number of ways that we can use RRSP mortgages. First thing to know is that you can use them on residential, commercial, industrial, and even on raw land. The only restriction is that the property has to be in Canada and have enough equity to secure the loan. Now, the mortgage can either be in first or second position, and some trustees even allow the mortgage to be in third position. So let me ask you, would you do a mortgage in third position?
We've asked that from stage before, where there was, I think, over 500 people in the room, and there was like, out of that 500, I think it was like 3 or 4 hands that were up. It was actually kind of funny.
Now, what if I told you that the property was appraised at $750,000? The first mortgage was $300,000. The second mortgage was $50,000. And the request for the third mortgage is for $75,000. So now, does that change things? Would you consider a third position mortgage?
And the reason why we say that is because we've done that mortgage. So a lot of people are scared being a third position, but when there is so much equity in the property, it's actually quite easy to do.
Now, one of the most common methods that investors may be aware of to take equity out of a property that you already own is by using a second mortgage in order to reuse that money in another project. Don't use it to buy a boat or a big screen TV. CRA is going to have a really hard view of that if you do that. So another strategy that we've been able to do is using RRSP mortgages for first mortgages when we buy a house that needs extensive renovations, whether it's fix and flip or whether it's buy, fix and hold, a BRRRR strategy. The key thing there is that you buy at a lower price, you fix it up, you renovate it and create value, and then you either sell it for a profit or you refinance. Now, in lots of cases, we're able to get first mortgages at 100% loan to value of the purchase. Using a 100% loan to value mortgage only works when there's significant spread between the purchase price and the after repair value. The benefit here is that you're creating value upfront through the buy and fix phase. This is a short-term strategy. You don't want to buy a property that you're intending to keep for 20 years and use only a private mortgage, because the mortgage is just too expensive.
It's just not sustainable.
So the key thing here is that you've got to buy at a price that's much lower than the after repair value. And basically what you'll end up doing is using this as a short-term strategy to do the acquisition and the renovations, after which you're going to end up refinancing and doing basically getting your money from a traditional financial institution.
Now, you can buy your RSPs to buy a property, no problem. In this case, it was a below market property in dire need of renovation. This had been a home for 48 cats. The SPCA had to remove 48 cats.
It was actually funny when our realtor told us about this property. He gave us a warning, and we met somebody at the front door with another realtor, and they had crossed the threshold, turned around and walked out because the smell was horrible. Now, Denise and I know that that's the smell of money. So we were willing to go in, and we went in and took a look at this place. Well, we ended up buying it using an RRSP mortgage.
And the thing is, when we did buy, like I said, the 48 cats, the SPCA took it over, or took the cats out. But by the time we bought it, there was still 9 cats left in the house. So when you look at the outside, there is next to the tree there, they had built an addition there, and they had kind of a computer room that was there. So it'll show you the exterior now. So this is just the exterior. We had to change the roof, the siding, the windows, the decks, new grass, parking was now like in a carport that we had. So we removed that extra room that they had for a computer room and made it a carport. And there was actually room for parking for 6 cars now into that driveway. But just to kind of give you an idea. So that's just the outside. And again, we're buying here low price, 100% loan value, RSP mortgage, so that when you look at what the next one is, Stuart, this is prior to COVID, okay? Masks back then were not being used. So this is a very common picture now to see somebody with a mask, but back then you had to wear a mask to even go in. Hats because you did not know what was going to be happening and how much cobwebs you're going to be running into, because that lamp, I'm sorry, I love that picture. It's such a Halloween picture for me. That lamp, if you look at the cobwebs and everything, I'm hoping you can see them all, but this kind of gives you an idea of the shape that was in a house. So this here is the kitchen and the living room that is right next to the kitchen. You'll see the same gray chair sort of followed up on the second picture. What you don't see in that picture is basically all the feces that were all over the floor. And you don't see what's in the corner, but it was piled high with dried, almost sawdust feces and everything. It was just all over the place. So now this is what the place looked like afterwards. So what we did for this property is we used our own renovation money actually to be able to do this. Some people borrow extra money, but we used our own renovations. And we were able to raise the value of the house by about $250,000 on that. So that was kind of a sweet deal for us. So it turned out really, really nice.
And the other advantage is that those of you that have done fix and flip, where you're financing with a traditional lender, you know that they're really reluctant to finance. So we were able to buy this place with very favorable terms, with a short closing, because we knew that we were using private mortgage with RRSP funds, and we'd already lined up our lenders.
So I think it sold within 5 or 6 months. I even forget now. So it was just about 3 years ago, something like that, 4 years ago.
Now this is another property that we bought. It's actually still in our portfolio. So the top left corner is the picture of the house. It was built in the late 1950s as a standard bungalow. It really hadn't had any real renovations in about 30 years. And the basement was finished with a 1970s rec room. So we modernized the house. We added a secondary suite to the basement. We were ready to refinance after 10 months. Now, again, if we had used a traditional lender to do the acquisition, the lender wouldn't have allowed a refinance until well after a year.
And we know that because it's happened to many, many cases of some of our students and people that we know that just people we know. And I'll tell you a story. Is somebody says, why would I even get an RSP mortgage? I can get a rate, of less than 2% on a house. And I go, okay, it's just because I'll just refinance. I said, you'll have trouble refinancing. She said, well, I don't understand why. And then when she did try to refinance, the bank wouldn't allow her. Says, banks want to have your money for a long term. They don't want it for short term. So when you're doing something short term, this is the perfect opportunity. So
as you'll see, these are photos of the interior renovation. So the top left corner is the old kitchen. Looks like it was something out of the 1970s. And so we modernized it, made it look really nice. Our tenants love it. The lower unit, the bottom left-hand corner, you can see that 1970s rec room. And so we changed it over. We made it into a 3-bedroom unit in the lower level. And we really have not had any vacancy on that since we did this work.
Yeah. This is one that we really, really like. This is one we just bought this past year. This is a large lot. It's 186 feet wide, 115 deep. Now, the house, the garage, and then there's a shed next to the garage, take over maybe 2/3 of the lot. So as you see, 1/3, the one on the left, is actually totally empty. We paid $1.325 million for this property. And what we did is, again, the flexibility, being able to use RSP mortgages. Now, this was a really hot market. There were so many people lined up for this property because we plan on severing it into 3 lots. So for us, the value was there. Now, it is an existing bungalow with a secondary dwelling unit. It is rented right now. In January, tenants are going to be told that, sorry, they're going to have to vacate, and we'll give them up probably, until after the school year anyway. So we don't want to disrupt their year. But again, this is one that 1.325 million, and I was able to raise that money in 3 days because that's all we had. That's all that we were given with a due diligence period. So again, I didn't have to worry about financing with a bank. So people say, well, in 3 days, but remember, we've been at it almost 12 years now. So we've developed a pool of people, but then a lot of the money is already out that we borrowed. So it was a little bit more work, but we were able to do it in 3 days. We got all of the funding necessary for that. So it is right now, as you can see, those 3 large units, they're going to be kind of 3-level units is what we're planning on that lot, 3 severances. So we are at the stage, what we did is we, the one on the left, that lot that was empty, that one there, we're just at the final stages. We're waiting for the legal paperwork to just finalize the severance because we've gone through all the committee work and everything. Yes, we've gone through all the planning and the architects and all of that. And we have the, we had to remove, when we went to the planning committee, we had to remove the request for a severance for the 2 properties because they said, well, we have to demolish right away. And I thought, we've got tenants in there. We can't ask them to leave. So we only severed the 1 lot. And the plan was to build now, except with COVID, if any of you have done any work, you know that everything has been taking a long time. So we're waiting for severance, and the paperwork for the building permit is probably going to go in this week. We're not quite sure how long that's going to take, but that was supposed to have been built this fall, but it's been a bit of delay. So as soon as that one's done, then, like I said, we're asking the tenants to leave because probably by late summer, we're going to be building the other 2 on that. So again, this is what we do. So when we go for our construction financing, that's when we're going to pay out people out of that mortgage. Now, when you're looking at a mortgage and when you're looking at how you're going to repay that money, and like Stuart mentioned a while ago too, you have to up the value on a property so you can make sure that you can pay that money back. So again, it must be on Canadian real estate and it's handled by a lawyer in the province where the property is. So one thing is if the mortgage is over $70,000, then it must have 2 lawyers. But in Ontario, not in other provinces, but in Ontario, they allow you to use the same lawyer if it's under 70K. Some lawyers won't even do it either, but the law does allow to do it.
Now, one of the things that we always do is we cover all costs because that attracts the lenders to us. So if you're dealing with the legal fees, you've got a plan as part of your strategy to make sure that you can cover the cost of the lawyers.
So that's why when we say about borrower pays all costs, you pay the legal fees from both sides, from the lender lawyer, the borrower lawyer, and you pay all of the trustee fees also. So there's administrative fees that are factored in there. They work out to be about $500 a year, a little less, actually about $450 a year. If you're only doing a 12-month, okay? Now it's a little less per year if you go past that, but that is a mortgage purchase fee, and then there's a discharge fee. So that's if it was just 1 year. What I like about the interest rate is very negotiable because it's not tied to the bank rates. You're not going to get a private mortgage at a 2% or less like you do at the bank. You just won't. On a first mortgage, it's very typical to see maybe 8 to 10% on a first mortgage. On a second mortgage, I've seen 10 to 18%, but I tell people, if you're paying those kinds of rates, you're paying too much. If you're paying 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and I've seen it, but people do it because they don't know what else they can do. And some people loan at that money, and that's great. We just don't pay those fees or those types of rates. So when you borrow, you have to make sure that the project can afford or actually support the interest rate that you're going to pay. Hey, if you can pay a little bit more, then great. As long as you factor in all of your paperwork that this is what you need to do, because it's going to be based on your loan to value and what is going to be the risk level. And there's a supply and demand here. Now, over the years, because it's getting a little bit more known, but it's still it's not a very known strategy, but more people know, and there's more available money now than there was, let's say 10 years ago when we started, just because people are more aware now. And the thing is, it's kind of funny. I was helping a friend just a few years ago, he was a coaching student, and he says, Denise, I don't know how to explain this to people. He says, I'm going to invite a few friends to my house. Do you mind just coming and just kind of like, I want to talk to them, but she says, could you explain it? Because I'll probably miss some stuff. I said, sure, we'll do that. So we went to their house. And one of the questions I asked is, are you happy with the returns you're getting? And they were all said no. And they were getting negligible. They were getting like in 0 point something percent, 1%. And I asked them, I said, what would make you very happy in terms of an interest rate? I was just curious. And do you know what the highest rate was that they gave? Like, I was blown away. 4% was the highest rate. I personally could not give somebody 4%. I just couldn't. It's not in my nature. And we'll pay 8% on a first mortgage ourselves. But I was just surprised that that's what it is. And I can tell you right now, when you're dealing with mom and pop, if you give them a high interest rate, they will think that you're scamming them. I know it sounds odd, but they don't understand because they've been getting 1% or less. So for them to get maybe if you say, I'll give you 14%, they're going to say, whoa, this is like risky. This is like, whoa, like, no, you're scamming me. And because they don't understand yet. So it's actually fairly easy, at least we find so, to find people that just want a better return for what they have now because it's so little at what they're getting now. So when I talk about the rates, one of the things is that when you're looking at the repayment terms, is that they're very negotiable. And what I like about this is the fact that you can do, if you want, the principal and interest, just like a regular bank. But I'm thinking, I'm not a regular bank, so why would I do that? We're talking registered funds here. This is not money they have sitting in the bank and is sitting there that they can just spend. You could do like monthly payments where you do interest only. Many people do that. What we prefer to do is the annual interest payment with a balloon payment at the end. And I say annual interest rate because the trustee, you must make a minimal, and they have a set rate that they want per year, but a minimal rate. And then you can do whatever interest rate you didn't pay that first year, you can pay it at the end of the mortgage. And because it is registered funds, people actually don't mind leaving it in there because if you pay an interest rate, it just sits in their account. They can't do anything. And the only way it would help them to get that is if they have enough money that they could just tag it onto another large amount they have and loan it out. But the majority of people of mom and pop don't. So I don't mind just ask. I said, we'll pay you at the end. And that way we have more money to work on our project. And then as soon as we're finished, then we just pay everybody back. So it's a great advantage to a borrower to be able to do that. And without having to do the monthly payments. And like I said, when you sell or you refinance, you just pay everybody back.
Now, as we said earlier, most banks only want people to know about the products that they sell. So most people don't even realize that they can invest in mortgages. You now know that accessing mortgages using these funds will grow your portfolio. So, you're sitting here with a group of people who understand that real estate is a good investment, but there's a whole bigger world outside of this group. Think of all the people in Canada who own some of the $1.8 trillion in RRSPs. Mm-hmm. Think about how you can help them get a better return on their retirement savings. All you got to do is find them. So the next question is, how are you going to find people who will invest their RRSPs? Thing you've got to remember is that people who want to invest with their RRSPs look for two things. They want a better interest rate than they're currently getting, and they want to know that they're going to get their money back safe and sound. So they're looking for lower risk.
Now, you're going to find that many people are just not happy about the returns they're getting, And not too long ago, I met a woman in a ladies' room, and we were at an event. So not too long ago, prior to COVID. And different events, I just was washing my hands in the bathroom. This woman turned to me and said, You know, I just got my statement from my RRSP, and I think I did 5%. Is that good? And I'm saying total stranger in the bathroom. Like I said, conversations can happen anywhere. And the first thing I asked is that the fund or is that you? She says, well, I don't know. I said, well, give me a call tomorrow. We can have a chat. I'm going back into my session. And actually, she did call me. She had put in 60,000 the year before, had not added anything to it, and now she had gotten her first year statement. And she thought she had done 5%. I said, do you have a calculator? She says, yeah, I do. And I said, okay, punch in 60,000 plus 5%. How is that? She says 3,000. I said, what does your statement say? Get this, 60,200. She was silent and then she got mad. When you consider all of the fees that come along when you've got RRSPs or other type of registered funds, it's unbelievable, but it's understandable once you understand the fees, why you're not making money with some of those RRSPs. So let's just say she just asked me, how can I get a better return? So then it was easy to be able to talk to her. Now, one of the ways to find lenders is one of the things you can guesstimate who has RRSPs or other money to invest. You can build relationships. You can be a magnet to attract lenders, and you'll find that you'll have to sort of educate them a little bit because this is all new to them. Now, when we talk about lenders, is that you need to examine your circle of influence. There's going to be different ways here that we're going to talk to you about. So no matter how connected you are or how broke you are, everyone knows at least 100 people, believe it or not. Actually, some stats say everybody knows 250 people, and people say, oh, I don't know anybody. But, you know, just remember that not everyone is in the real estate arena. And this is where I find the fault that a lot of real estate investors do is they only talk to other real estate investors in the room they're in. That's not where you're going to find all your money. You'll find some maybe, but that's not where you're going to find everything. So when you're thinking about these lenders, remember also that people in their 30s are just starting to make money. People in their 40s have money. Now I say 30s, some people have done really well. Okay, I'm just generalizing here. People in the 40s have money. People in their 50s, it's a sweet spot. They've been in the workforce now for 3 decades. And then in their 60s, well, guess what? They're a little bit more conservative because now they're looking towards retirement or they are retired. So they're just a little bit more conservative. So when you're looking at your list or your circle of influence, anybody in your first circle is friends and family. They're the people that know you well, they confide in you, they understand you, you know, they just get you. They can let your guard down. That's your inner circle. If you look in your contacts in your phone, if you go down all the way down your list and you put the number sign, you'll see how many contacts you have in there. That means you've had some contacts with people in there. So there's a lot of people in there that you know already. The people in your number 2 circle, what you're going to have is those are friends of family and colleagues. Now that you know them well enough, but you don't spend a whole lot of time together. You know, they're friends that maybe you do activities with. It could be church activities, work friends, church friends. Some of them may be Facebook friends, but really in Facebook, you lack that deeper connection with people, right? Face-to-face connections are still the strongest because you have shared experiences. Whoop. Where am I going? I was moving and I missed that. So the last one is going to be your everyone else. Those are the people that, hey, they're acquaintances, people you don't know very well, you know, they're outside of your circle, basically. What you need to do is build friendships. Your number 3 circle, you want to get to know them better, to bring them to a number 2 circle, to get them into your inner circle. Remember what we said, what the law says. When you're dealing with people and borrowing their money, you need to talk with friends and family. Then you're staying within the law. So you have to be careful as to who you talk to. So building friendship, it's an investment in people. And that is so, so key. And you'll find that in many cases, people don't care about the deal. They care about you.
So once you've identified who you're going to be able to talk to, the question is, how are you going to be able to figure out who in your inner circle might be open to the idea of lending you funds? Well, the easy answer to that is ask them. But first, you got to figure out who you're going to talk to. So if your first circle includes people that you haven't talked to in a long time, you won't have much success if you call them out of the blue and ask them for money for your deal. Similarly, some of the people in that circle won't be a good prospect. I mean, because of their experiences, their beliefs, and many other reasons. I mean, maybe as a teenager, you wrecked their car or something, and they just have never trusted you since. So you got to figure out who in this group you need to talk to. But the important thing is to learn how to present yourself so that you attract the type of customer or client that you're looking for. You need to clearly identify what type of lender you want to work with, and then make sure that you're marketing to show them that you know what you're doing. Now, there's 3 points to follow on. You've identified who you can talk to. You've identified who you should talk to. Your next step is to actually talk to them.
Now, it's funny. We talk about building relationships and just people that you know and talk to them. I hadn't seen a friend for about 2 months. And we just happened to get together, and just out of the blue, I thought, oh yeah, I should ask him. I said, hey, Alan, I said, are you happy with the returns you're getting out of your RSP? He goes, heck no. I said, how would you like to get 9%? And at the time I was fairly new at it, and I hadn't even figured out what rate I should be asking, but I threw out 9%. He says, yeah, I'd do that. And we did. That's how easy it was when you have a very close relationship with some friends, because they're willing to listen, they're willing to open, and we did. We've done mortgages with him. So another thing that you can ask is, when you're talking to somebody, is you're not asking them, but you're asking sort of the third person and say, hey, do you know anyone who's lost money in the financial market? You know, like people who may be interested in making some of that money back that they've lost and just get better returns and not having to pay fees.
And it's really important for you to third person this, because it's kind of in your face to say, hey, have you lost money in the stock market? Whereas, do you know anybody who's lost money in the financial market? Leaves it open that they can either say yes or no. And they might say, well, yeah, me. And then you can carry on the conversation. But the important thing is the need to build relationships, because people are going to deal with people that they know, like, and trust. So you've got to talk to people and get to understand their needs. I mean, is this somebody who's looking for a short-term investment, or are they looking for long-term growth? Do they understand real estate investing is a safe way to grow their money? Or is this something that you're going to have to do more education on it? Do they need monthly payments versus balloon payments? I mean, in many cases, you're going to know somebody who's got a large amount of equity sitting in their property, equity that they could borrow at a low rate in a HELOC, and they could lend to you and make a significant return. Or they've got a lot of money sitting in registered funds and they're getting really crappy returns, and they would love to put money with you as long as they know that it's going to be safe and they're going to get a guaranteed return in the future. People will invest with you if you build a trust.
Now, to make sure that people are getting the right message about you, you really need to create some social proof. And the way people basically digest social media now, you'll notice people look at their phones and they just scroll and scroll and scroll. So don't get worried when people don't have not liked or commented on your post. People still know what you're up to because they do check. And I've had so many times said, oh, Denise, I love what you posted there. And I thought, well, you never liked it, you know, but it's true. They just don't. So that interaction isn't always there, but people are watching. So the idea is, don't be a silent investor. And what I mean being a silent investor is show online that you're a successful investor. Talk about what you do. You're not soliciting for funds. You're not even talking about funds, but you just want to post things about real estate so people know you're alive and you are a real estate investor. That's basically
Sorry, technology.
Yeah. So you just want them to know that you basically exist online. And this is where, when people look for you, that is one of the first places they look for also is online. Doesn't matter on which social media you're on. It's just a way to be able to do this. So you want to make sure that people know what you do, basically. So remember, your reputation is critical too. So if you It's so important to develop a good reputation, and you want to maintain that reputation. And you know what? Social media is not the place to vent all of your anger and everything, because people will remember that as well, right? So if something that happens that's negative, own it and fix it. That's it. Just own it and fix it.
Now, the next step in finding lenders is to network. So where do you network to find private lenders? Well, the obvious answer to that question is real estate clubs and working through mortgage agents, brokers, network of friends, family, close business associates. But the biggest source of the $1.8 trillion source of funds is not in those rooms. You need to build relationships outside of the real estate space. In an online world, people are watching your online activity, so they're going to find out that you are a real estate investor as long as you do the social proof. But what you've got to do is get very good at networking. So this will help you expand your #1 circle of influence, giving you more prospects to talk to, as well as setting you up to create more social proof by solidifying your reputation.
Another thing when we talk about education is you're educating basically mom and pop, basically is what you're doing. And some of them have no idea what a good investment is. They're used to go to the banks tell them, oh, this is what you need to invest in, and they just do. And you'll see, we're about to hit January soon. Guess what? All the ads are going to start coming out because it's RRSP season, right? So people are now going to start looking at that. You just want to find ways that are going to be comfortable to share that information about real estate investing. And that's where you should start, not asking for funds right away, but educating them about real estate. One of the things that we like to do, and honest, I don't get anything for this, but this book here called The RRSP Secret is a fantastic book that was written in 2010 by Greg Hasbrett. And you want to learn about RRSP secrets, that's a great place to go from A to Z. Now, what I have done, this is a book I loan out. We bought a case and we loan it out. In the front of the book, I actually put a sheet up there because I go through the book and I look at whatever is no longer valid, because it was written in 2010. So I've got a list. So when they open the book, they know, okay, for instance, the rates are higher in the book than what you can get today because there's just more of it now. The first home buyer's plan is different today than when it was then. So all of these things that are no longer valid, I put it right at the front of the book. But the explanation about the financial industry and what's happened to RSPs and how the fees really eat up at your profits and things like that. It's a great book. If you want to get to know a little bit more, then read that book. I mean, it's still there, but it was in 2010 is when it came out. And the other thing is, like, we've developed white papers and stuff like that. So when people are interested, we send them a white paper because it preps them for the conversation that we are going to have. And again, when you have an online presence, sometimes people just ask a question and you can ask a question. You can, so you're building relationships as you're developing this as well. So if you're asked a question, just answer the question. Do not give them a complete course. Look at the question and answer the question. That's it. You want to give info. You want to give value to them. You want people to come to you. You want to become like an attraction magnet is what you want. One of the things that we love to talk about is the ping pong conversation. Now, we actually teach an RSP mortgage course, how to do them, like from A to Z, basically, for private lenders. And one of the things we teach is about the ping pong conversation, because when you play ping pong, you throw the ball and you expect the ball to come back, and then you throw it back, then it comes back. Your conversation should be like that. And we've done this from stage where it was at Christmas time where we did all kinds of skits about how they can approach talking about real estate, but without being a verbal diarrhea, okay? So basically, we'll just give you kind of an example of what we kind of do. So what are you doing these days?
Oh, me? Oh, I'm investing in real estate. My wife and I started to buy houses, and we're renting some of them out, and some others we're buying these houses and we're fixing them up. And I mean, we get people to invest with us, and it's really amazing. That we can get people really good returns.
That's great. So John, how was the hockey game last night? So that's kind of what not to do, because If somebody asks you a question about real estate and then you're trying to tell them your whole life history, that's not going to work, guys. You're just going to repel them. They're just going to walk away, go talk to somebody else. That's what's going to happen. So
we're going to do a different role play.
yeah. So what do you do for a living?
Me, I work for the federal government.
And do you like it?
Are you kidding? I can't wait until I can retire.
Oh my goodness. So retirement, like, do you have any RSP funds?
Yeah, I've got some.
Are you getting good returns?
Not really.
Wow. You know what? I took my RSPs and I actually moved them from mutual funds because I didn't like my returns, and I moved them into mortgages. And all I've seen is my account grow.
Mortgages? How would I learn how to do that?
Well, I'll tell you what, why don't we just set up a time we can get together for a cup of coffee, or maybe even a Zoom chat, and we can tell you a little bit more about it.
Okay, that sounds cool.
And that's it, guys. When you broach something, never discuss all the way to the end what it is that you want to talk to them about. You just want to have enough interest. So if they show interest, just say a little bit, and then you just set it off to another time, and then you can prepare properly. If you've got an article, if you've got something that you can send them ahead of time, then it incites more conversation again when you get to talk to them.
Once they've shown some interest, you're going to need to find out what their goals and desires are. Now, all the time that you invest getting to know your prospect is time that you're building a better relationship. Remember that people will only invest in someone that they know, like, and trust. So, as we said, people are going to care much more about you than they will about the deal. So, when you reach this point, you need to be prepared to explain to them how their money is going to be used and how you're going to secure their investment and return it to them safely in the time that you've promised and with the return that you've promised.
So whenever we help people, we actually teach them about how to do an investor package that makes the investor say yes. It is so strong, and it's something we've perfected over the years. And it's very important to have a lot of information so that actually that your potential lender has information to kind of digest and look at and see if there's any questions. But it can get so strong, like I said, to the point that when they look and they go, wow, this is great, I'm in. And that's what we like to hear. So one of the, or some of the items that we have in there is, what's going to be the opportunity? So tell them right up front, hey, I'm looking for this amount of money for this amount of time. I'm going to pay, this much, and this is what I plan on doing with it, period. What are the terms of the mortgage? All the terms they want, the interest rates, the dates you need it, for how long, all of that stuff, how you're going to pay them back, when, like, is it going to be monthly, at the end, balloon, all of those details in there. Who's involved on that mortgage? Is it you? Is it your corporation? What's your experience to be able to do what it is that you say you're going to do? That forms part of it. What's your plan? What's your budget? Give them an idea of what's going to be happening with the money that you plan on borrowing. But you also, what's so important is having a clear exit strategy of what it is that you're going to do. Because if you can't show them how you plan on paying them back, they are not going to want to do anything. And a confused mind always says no. Always, always, always. Now, one of the things I don't mind telling you is that we have an outline of the investor package that we're willing to share with you and send to you. So that's something that we can just mention at the end too. So we've been borrowers and lenders since the get-go. And when I look back, there was at one point, it took me 8 years to recoup the losses. Whereas at the same stage of where I was 8 years previous, it's like, oh my gosh, there's got to be a better way. And we found a better way, because all we've seen is, as lenders, our retirement income goes up, and we've never lost any money. And as a real estate portfolio, that keeps going and growing as well as borrowers. Now, one of the things is that you can do this too. You literally can. If you can dream it, then start planning what it is that you're going to do. But the biggest thing that you ever have to do is take action. You can make it happen.
And when you do, you're going to grow your real estate portfolio. You're going to find that developing the ability to accessing registered funds is a great source of capital for your projects. And this can be used for any Canadian real estate. and it's going to help you, and it's going to help the people that you know safely grow their retirement funds. This strategy works 100% of the time when you do it right. And as we said, you're going to basically help a lot of people that you know have a better retirement.
And basically, as I mentioned, we have a special gift for you. The only thing I have to do is apologize because the site is down. So all I can say is that if you have, maybe you can put everybody back on, Stuart, rather than seeing our presentation. There we go. I don't know if you had wanted to have it back on or not, but I just wanted to see everybody so that if you want, out of the information that's there, is it still there, Stuart, by the way? Oh, okay.
No, we've taken it down.
Maybe you just want to put it up just for a second because I don't know they had any time to capture some of that information. So that if you have, if you'd like to have a copy that can help you with an investor package, all I suggest you do is send us an email at info@deniseandstuart.ca. And all you need to do, you don't even have to write a message, just put in the subject line, gift, special gift. That's all you need to do, and we'll know what it is for, because nobody's going to send me an email that just says gift on there, but we'll know what that is. So I do apologize that it's down, and we just checked it before and I thought, oh, I can't believe this is happening. So technology has its challenges at time, and this is one of them. What can I say? And we're found on Facebook and Instagram as @Denise and Stuart, and that's how you find us. So basically, if we can go back to everybody and we'll pass it on, I guess, Matthew, if you want to open up some Q's and A's here, we'll be happy to answer questions.
Yeah, what I'd like to do is just go through a couple of our slides and then we can open up to Q&A.
Okay.
Hang on for a couple of minutes.
Sure.
So Shelby, if you can bring us back. First of all, thanks very much, Denise and Stuart, for that presentation. It was fantastic. I was kind of eating grapes and making notes myself over here. But yeah, it was really interesting to learn. I understand some about RRSP lending, but I'm certainly no expert in it, and you guys are really the leaders in this field. So it was really interesting to hear some of these things, especially some of your experiences. I love that picture of that cat house with the mask and the lamp with all those cobwebs. Unfortunately, I see a lot of it in Toronto. like every other house we're looking at to do renovations and investments on are like that. Good thing masks are a normal thing now.
Well, they are. That's why I said this is pre-COVID.
Exactly, and that's no regular mask. It's a pretty heavy duty mask you were wearing.
Yes.
I know.
Oh, you had to.
That was an N95.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
And that's a term. 2 years ago, nobody knew what the hell you're talking about.
Yeah. I probably should have a respirator, but I was not aware of respirators at the time.
Exactly. So now the title is Now What? If you could go to the next slide, please, Shelby. So basically, now that we've had this wonderful presentation from Denise and Stuart, and we talked a little bit about ourselves, Volition on real estate investing. If you're wondering, like, what the heck do you do next? We offer a complimentary advisory session, and it will help you determine, where you're at, where you're trying to get to, and help build a plan to get there. That may include things like RRSP lending, or using other people's money to be able to continue growing your portfolio. This is really something distinguishing with Volition that we pride ourselves on, is to help customize a solution, because there's no such thing as a best investment. If anybody ever tells you that this is the best investment, they have no context of what is best for you. So we try to come up with individual solutions for everybody. And yeah, take advantage of it, because when we do this at a per hour rate, we charge a heck of a lot of money for it. so take advantage of the complimentary session. This is a place to ask questions like, I have this property, I have this situation, and I don't know what the next right step is to continue leveraging or to divest or whatever it happens to be. This is the place to do those questions. So I recommend people take advantage of this. Next slide, please. Next, I can't believe we're at the end of the year. It's amazing that we've just flown through the year, but the next meetup is really going to be our client appreciation meetup. Tu Nguyen is coming to speak with us. She's my executive coach. She's also Matt's executive coach, and you know, very good friend of mine. She takes a very holistic view at life in general, and I hate that term, like executive coach or life coach. I think it's kind of like real estate agent. The breadth of expertise and skills is so wide. But we wanted to offer something more to our clients than just here's, you know, we spend 11 months of the year talking about the technical part of real estate investing. We wanted to get into a deeper part of investing, and that's the inner game portion. And so hopefully this is very valuable to our clients. And so hopefully we see you guys December 15th to bring to listen to two kind of talk about this. And it's kind of a gift back to our clients for the year. Next slide, please. And we always like to end with this slide. Who can do it? You can do it. We really do believe everybody can. And just like Denise and Stuart were saying at the end of their presentation, you know, action really is the most important thing to take in all of this. It's very easy. You know, people who are here tend to be quite analytical, tend to be smart people if you're spending your evening learning about real estate investing. And it's very easy for people like us to get into analysis paralysis. But you can only analyze so much. You can only risk mitigate so much. At some point, you do have to make the leap. And we believe everybody can do it because it's not like any of us started off anywhere special. You know, Denise and Stuart started off from a very tough situation in the beginning. I made tons of mistakes in the start, but it is definitely, you know, I've learned, thank God, from those mistakes along the way. Anyway, I'll turn it over to you guys. And oh, we got a poll.
I'm gonna do a quick poll if you don't mind.
Learning about in the future, yeah, let us know, because these meetups are really for the Volition community. Like, what do you guys want to learn about? I know what I want to learn about, so I want to hear. I'm not going to bias this. I'm just going to submit, submit, because I know what I want to hear about next year. But yeah, let us know what you want to hear about, and then I'll turn it over to you, Denise and Stuart. If anybody has questions, let's go through them, and if you don't mind sticking around for a couple more minutes, we'll go through those. Cool. So I think the first one we have here is, oh, sorry, that's my daughter screaming in the background. What is the minimum amount do people lend out usually?
Oh, minimum. That's it's a little tough. I know. I've got a friend that won't accept anything under. He has 300,000. I've got other people say 100,000. I think we were put on this earth to help people. So a lot of times we've had people say, Denise, can you help me out? Like, I've got, you know, 15,000, or I've got 25,000. And what I have to tell people is that it's harder to use. That's all I can say. If it's too small, I mean, you can't just borrow that amount because it's too expensive. Remember, you're paying 2 lawyers on both sides, and then plus the administrative fees. But what has happened is that when we have a larger mortgage, sometimes you need that little top up. And sometimes that's where we can use that. But I'm always upfront with people. I said it takes longer before we can use it.
And what Denise is talking about with the larger mortgages, that's multiple lenders on one mortgage.
Yeah.
So we basically build the fund that we need. And as she says, sometimes there's a little bit left over that we need to subscribe.
Because, I mean, you can't put more than one person on a mortgage. Like, we've had somebody with a TFSA, a RRSP, and then somebody had cash. So we had 3 people to give us the amount that we needed. So, but remember, it's one mortgage, all on the same terms, but one mortgage.
Practically speaking, for you guys, is there a maximum number of people which you would consider? Because I imagine every additional person adds complexity to the deal. You must say at some point, you know what, we're good.
Plus it adds legal costs and administrative costs. So it gets to the point that it's just too costly to work it in your deal.
But basically, we approach each deal on its own merits.
Yes.
And we figure out at that point what we're going to do and how many people we're going to put on the deal. I mean, we showed you the picture there of the development opportunity we're working on right now, where we had to raise over 1.3 million.
So we're just
in a few days.
Yeah.
So
that has just over 10 people on that one, okay. which is more, but because it's going to be built and we know what the value, the after repair value is going to be, then we were willing to pay those extra costs up front.
Right. Okay. That makes total sense, right? You have to gauge the trouble and the cost per deal. I'm just curious because I wonder at what point you're like, you know what? Thank you very much for your interest. We'll let you know when the next deal is.
Well, exactly. Sometimes it just doesn't work out. But that one there, we really, really wanted. So if it took a little bit more people to put it on to get the money we needed, we did it.
Awesome. Next question we have here is the lender paying an income tax since she withdraws money from a registered fund?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Yeah.
Because the lender does not withdraw the money from the registered fund. This is an investment from within the registered fund, so that the interest that you're paying on that mortgage is going back in to grow the person's RRSP or grow their TFSA. Now, what we found as we're working with people and helping them move their funds over to Olympia Trust in order to be able to invest in a mortgage, they'll go into the financial institution where their RRSPs are right now, and the person on the other side of the desk tries to convince them that they're going to have to pay taxes on it, or tries to convince them that mortgages are illegal. And as we advise people, the reason why
How do we know that? Because I've been told that when I first got into mortgages, saying it's illegal. And I thought, there's the CRA legislation right there. So I knew the guy was full of bull.
And I mean, really what the reason for that is, oh, please, please, please don't take your RSPs away from my institution because I'm going to lose all this commission. So, I mean, what the simple answer here is no. The lender does not pay income tax on the money that they're investing in a mortgage because it's their RRSP that's investing in the mortgage.
And it stays in the RRSP umbrella. And that's why you have to be with a trustee, because they have to follow the CRA rules. So they protect that and keep it under that registered umbrella. So at no point do you ever touch that money. It's done between final institutions from, let's say, an account you may have at a bank to put it into as a trustee where you're allowed to loan it out. But when the money is ready to send out, it's sent to a lawyer. So let's say if it's a purchase you're making, then that money will go to the lawyer. And at that point, the lawyer will actually kind of disperse that for the payment of the property and things like that. So you never touch the money at any time.
Yeah, this I think is probably not understood by a lot of people because it sits outside of what everybody's learned as, you know, financial institutions. Because when I first started using Olympia to do private equity investment, I did not understand the whole structure. So, you know, basically, if you have RSPs, let's say it's, I don't know, with BMO, and you wanted to move your RSPs to TD, you don't actually withdraw your money and then take a big check and then give it to another bank. The banks transfer between each other and keep everything registered, submit all the information to the government. Olympia Trust is a large organization which acts as a middleman and keeps all the reporting to the government. So that money transfers directly from whatever bank you're with, whatever portion of those RSPs, it doesn't have to be all of it, but whatever portion moves to Olympia, and then Olympia makes sure that all the back end reporting to the government is done properly. So there's no like with moving money physically with a check or anything yourself, it's all done between financial institutions. Cool. Yeah, and it was just like, you know, you're raised in this financial world of 5 banks, right, and some trust companies, and you never learn about some of these alternative things until a little later when you're trying to get a little more creative with how you're investing.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, that's
I see there is one other question in the chat. Where do we hold these funds? Like once we've got the full amount of funds from our lenders, where would the funds be held? Well, the funds stay with the trustee until the lawyer prepares the mortgage documents. And the lawyer gets the authorization from Olympia Trust, for example, that the mortgage documents are prepared and the mortgage will be registered. Then Olympia Trust sends the money directly to the lawyer. And the money from the lawyer will then be used, if it's an acquisition, if it's a purchase, then the lawyer uses that money to complete a purchase, the same as if they got the money from the bank. If it's a refinance, then once the lawyer has satisfied all of the requirements, the lawyer writes a check and hands it to you. So you only touch the money once it comes from the lawyers.
Yeah. And this is something like we've had a course running now. We're going to do another one in January. And we teach people how to find the lenders, where they can use them, how to do that private mortgage, because again, it is an unregulated industry. But the thing is, it's like anything else, need to follow the rules. And what I'm seeing right now online with what a lot of people are doing and asking, for funds right online, they're breaking either CRA regulations or against the Securities Commission or against the Mortgage Brokers Act. There's so many rules being broken right now. And you know what? And when we teach our course, we teach people about not doing that type of stuff. And it's like, we were joking about something today. I said, yeah, a perfect example is like, when you're a mole, that game where you have that board and the guacamole and the little hill, and you're supposed to hammer on the mole, as well as if you poke your head out and do something you're not supposed to do, well, there's a good chance that the government or the Securities Commission or whatever, it will come after you. And it's starting to happen. They're starting to look into a lot more of what's happening with some of these funds. So we teach it. We're so strong in that to teach to stay within the law. And just don't go out advertising publicly, because you could be faced with a lot of problems, period.
Yep, the OSC is something you definitely don't want to mess with.
Oh,
and,
goodness, no.
They, up until this point, they haven't spent a lot of time looking at what's happening right now in real estate, but guaranteed with a couple of people making some losses here and there, that's all you need for them to do a 180 and just take out people who are not operating under the OSC rules. My previous life is in banking, so yeah. I'm very familiar with the power of the OSC
and there's people under scrutiny now for having advertised interest rates, and right now they've been banned from doing stuff and whatnot. It's happening. It's just not as prevalent. Maybe it's not hitting the news yet. You need to know, through the grapevine, because the real estate world is a small world, right? So when you hear things, sometimes you hear it from somebody else or whatever, and you find out about these things. But you're starting to hear it's happening. And one of the things that people maybe don't understand is we don't go through mortgage brokers. And we don't, because I can do my own private mortgage. So we don't go through it. And it's funny, one of the gals that I know very well, she's a lender and a borrower, and we were talking, she says, oh, I'm so glad, Denise, you're doing this course. You guys have been doing it. You've been, the experts in this. This is fantastic. You're going to be helping experts in what, I don't know what I said, but I said something about and no broker fee. And she stopped me. She says, you said what? I said, no broker fees. And she says, what do you mean no broker fees? Because every time she's done a private mortgage, she's gone through a broker. We use brokers. Don't get me wrong. Brokers are great, and you need them as part of your team in real estate. But when it comes time to private mortgages, I don't pay broker fees, and I don't pay lender fees. So she told me, she says, you mean to say, she says, I just did a mortgage. And she says, you only charge me 1% lender fee, and it was a $500,000 mortgage. You mean to say that I would not have had to pay that $5,000 if I did my own? I said, that's right. Sign me up, is what she said, which was kind of funny because she's been a lender and borrower for a long time. And even the first night, she says, Denise, I'm blown away, just blown away of what you taught, which is great, because we want people to learn this the right way. Because too many things, sorry, we've got this big spider running around us. We were talking, we stopped at some point because it came down from the ceiling and it was dangling here in front of us, like we're looking at it. And now it's been coming back.
So we've been having a little bit of problem with the web, not just you, Chris.
Wow. That's some serious dad joke there.
But it's true. It's just that we do our private mortgages, and I've never paid a lender fee or a broker fee. If people want to do that, that's fine. Like, that's up to them. But it's not, a lot of times it's because they don't know there's an alternative. And I remember us doing a survey to a bunch of people who were talking online, and we asked, what lender fees do you see out there? And we saw from 1% to 7%. And when you Yes,
Cool.
yes. And I'm thinking, oh my, that's a fair bit too. And that,
the 7% lender fee wasn't the worst part. Wasn't that the one that they were paying an 18% annual interest rate on?
yeah.
It's borderline criminal.
Well, anyways, but yeah, high interest rate and then a 7% lender fee on top. And I thought, okay, did you know there may be a better way? You know, but it's true. But some people are paying high rates.
Mhm.
But when, like I said, if you're dealing investor to investor, they're asking for higher rates, and it's because they're in the real estate game. They know what brokers do, and they tend to ask for a higher rate. But we're out there helping mom and pops who are so worried about the investments because they've lost so much over the years. It's like we look at ourselves, right? Late 60s now, we lost a lot over the years. But this is the best thing we personally could have done is move our funds into private mortgages, because all we've seen is our funds grow. That's it. There's no volatility of the market. And the thing is, you have to be very diligent about where you lend your money. You've got to be able to, again, get that confidence built. You know, they need to trust you so that you can pay it back.
I think we have time for one more question. It was, are the lenders on the property title?
So basically what happens is that the lenders are secured by a mortgage that is registered on title. So they don't go on title as property owners. That's you, assuming that you're the property owner doing the borrowing. But they are protected because the lawyer is going to register a mortgage on title and their name is in that mortgage.
Awesome.
You know, and a lot of people are not comfortable with 100% loan to value, and we've been able to do it because, again, there's such a difference between where we buy and where it's going to end up. And we've built our reputation that people have trusted us, and we've always paid, and we make it an obligation. Let's say we lost it, we have that obligation to pay it back. It's not, oh no, I'm just going to go bankrupt and I don't have to pay. No. And as we talk to people and they're learning about this, we tell them, if you think that you're going to come on this course and think that I'm going to try to find the ways to not do this or skirt that, or what's like a gray area I can go in, I said, please get out now. This is not how we work. We don't. It's important. You have to have that obligation that what you borrow, you are going to pay back.
Absolutely.
And your lender needs to know that too.
Thanks so much, guys. This has been an amazing presentation. Really, really appreciate your time. What's the best way to get a hold of you? Info at SDMac Properties or DeniseandStuart.ca?
Yeah, so the at Denise and Stuart on Facebook or Instagram is a great way too. And you can message us through that as well. And yeah, there, Stuart just put our that. And like I said, if you'd like to have that outline of doing your investor package, please just send us an email and just put gift. Okay, on there, just put gift. And I'm sorry that yeah, technology and it's not running.
Yeah, no problem. Your website seems to be working. I went on there and like it is asking me if I want to sign up. So,
and actually, what that will do is we put out a regular newsletter and information about events, and we also hold a monthly networking event, which is a no pitch fest. So if anybody wanted to get on that mailing list,
yeah,
our website deniseandstuart.ca has a little spot where you can register in there.
Yeah. We do, our networking is every fourth Monday of the month, and it's open to people across Canada. And sometimes we've had 4 or 5 provinces on there at a time. We've had where it was just Ontario. Who knows who shows up that night, but we have a lot of fun because all we're doing is helping each other out. That's all we do. And I make it very clear, this is no pitch fest. So nobody's trying to sell you anything or ask you for anything. Bring your questions or share your expertise, which is why it's kind of nice to have, you know, newbies as well as seasoned people, because it's just a way of giving back to everybody and getting the help sometimes that you need.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, guys, for coming tonight and speaking with us, and thanks everybody for joining us and learning a bit about RRSP lending and Toronto investing. Hope to see you in December. If you're a client of ours, if not, we'll see you in the new year then. Thanks very much, everybody. Have a wonderful night.
Thank you.
Thanks so
Ming
much.
and
Thank
Matthew.
you.
Thank you.
But thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Take
See you
care.
soon. Sure. Bye.